Kennedy. As promised, today's video is going to be about how to invest in real estate as an out-of-state investor. If you live in a primary market, such as myself, New York City, it is almost impossible to be investing here, especially because the laws have really shifted to being very tenant focused, which we will dig into what that means later in this video. But basically, if it is a tenant-friendly state, it's not very friendly for landlords, aka us investors. Therefore, it's better to invest out of state. So now picking a market based on market trends and a lot of different things are going to be very important. So how do we invest out of state? How do we manage out of state? This is a lot of information. I'm going to try to cram it really into this little video right here and keep us under 10 minutes. But if it gets any longer, I'll just make a part 2. Or if you have any questions because I crammed too quickly, just put the questions down below and I will make sure to answer it in another video or directly to you. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe. This is a new channel, but I am doing this for you and I'm trying to be helpful as much as I can. I love interaction. So tell me what you need to know and I will be happy to answer it for you. I also, if you subscribe, I know that people are watching and care and are learning. So then I can actually put more content out there for you. And I'm going to try to be making videos every single Tuesday. And this way you will have more tech and real estate and investment tips for you so that you can continue to be the badass that you are. Okay, real estate investing. All right, so how do we start investing out of state? We're investing out of state either because we live in a primary market or because we have somebody who told us that another market is the better market than where we're in. You know, there's a couple of plays when it comes to real estate. There's appreciation, there's cash flow, there's tax havens, right? There's a couple of different reasons why we invest, but assuming that you're investing for the same reasons I invest, which is really cash flow and passive income, you don't necessarily just want to do the appreciation play because that could take too much time. It's not liquid enough, so it's not worth it. So where do you go if you are looking for those kind of markets? There are 3 tips that are predetermining tips. Number 1, I always say, look at things within the same time zone. Doesn't mean that this is a rule. I'm just saying, because you're going to be having a property manager and a contractor that is going to be managing your properties for you, which you will surprise and visit them from time to time. But you also want to make sure that you're in the same time zone. Let's say a pipe bursts or a big issue pops up and your super or property manager is dealing with it, but they still want to let you know about it, or maybe you can troubleshoot better than they can. You want to kind of be in the same time zone, especially I don't really like Pacific, like to Eastern, just because I think that that is really, you're still in bed. I think that if you're going from East Coast to West Coast, it's a little bit better in terms of management. Now, how to manage out of country, that's a whole nother video. So number 1, pre-qualifying, I would look at time zone. Number 2, I also would look at connections and people. Where are you the most connected? Do you have an aunt, an uncle, a contractor, a friend, a realtor, anybody in any other place? Even if you're in New York City and you have somebody in Austin, Texas, or, you know, in Tallahassee, Florida, Kentucky, Milwaukee, Detroit, wherever it is, where you have your connections is also very, very helpful, because then you can find the right team, the right contractor, the right real estate agent that is investor focused. You can actually really have the right property manager that you can trust because people are local to it. Number 3, it is very important to get very clear on your objective as a real estate investor. A lot of people are very clear on what they do. They only do multifamily syndications. Good for them. You have to be very clear on what your path is. Are you full-time? Are you part-time? Do you like flipping? Do you like burr properties? Do you like borrow properties? Do you like Airbnb, short-term rentals, long-term rentals? You have to be very clear on what your time and resources are, because this will greatly affect what market I will suggest that you choose. If you want to, for example, do Airbnb, which is a very hands-on day-to-day sort of job, even if you hire a property management company and pay them 25% management costs, if shit hits the fan, it's your property. You need to be the one to show up. And if that's the case, a 2-hour drive might be better than a 4-hour flight across a time zone. So these are things to keep in mind. Also, with a flip, you want to be able to jump on a flight and land there at any point without even telling your contractor, because you want to be able to just show up. The thing is that contractors could be great. General contractors are awesome, but Many times you might show up and they'll be on the job drinking their beer, chilling out, or maybe even putting in the wrong grout with the wrong tile in the wrong place if you're not there to be on top of them. So in summary, pre-market qualification is same time zone, where's your connection, and knowing the route that you want to take determines the distance that you can go. The next step is great. Now you want to pick a market. So you know exactly what you want to do. For example, I want to do Airbnbs. Great. So now that you know that you want to do Airbnbs, you know that you want to be within the same time zone because Airbnbs can have a lot of issues, even if you have it automated and set up on Guesty. By the way, I have a 3-day Airbnb automated course coming up February 18th. I will put the link below. You can sign up. It's $36. I mean, we spend more on lunch, but come, it's 3 days. I will teach you A to Z how to set up your entire Airbnb business, automated from tech all the way through house cleaning and making sure that you are a super host and top of mind and doing the best that you can do. But prior to getting into it, you really have to understand the education behind it. So if you really like Airbnbs, you need to really, really know the laws of the state. Knowing the laws of the state is very important, not just for Airbnb laws, but also, for example, there are certain cities and states that are very tenant friendly, and then there are some that are more landlord friendly. Let me give you an example of why this matters. There is one state, I believe it's Philadelphia, that is very tenant friendly. Now, in the state of Philadelphia, if a tenant does not pay their electricity bill, what it ends up happening is they put a tax lien, they put a electricity lien on the property. Now, what is mind-blowing to me about this is that if you have a tenant that decides to want to mess with you and they don't pay their bill, you're not paying attention to whether or not they're paying electricity because you're thinking to yourself, okay, it's $30, $50, $100 a month. I mean, they're paying the electricity bill, right? But no, if they don't pay the bill, you know what ends up happening? That bill is leaned against the house, and then they can come after you and potentially, take the property away from you, and you don't want to have to go through that. So it's very important to understand what the laws are with tenants and landlords in every single state and what that means for you as an investor. So with me, with Airbnb, I also like to make sure that there are certain laws in place, if they're friendly to Airbnb, if they're not friendly to Airbnb, what the loopholes are like. I like to try to talk to some local hosts and ask them some questions and kind of get involved that way. And I have some tips and tricks in how to integrate in the market. But if you're interested in knowing more about that, I can make a separate one for Airbnb because that's really my jam. And I really love the Airbnb market. So now that you know what the local laws are for what you want to do, their tax laws, if they're tenant friendly or if they're landlord friendly, now we're ready to start investing. The next thing is to find a real estate agent. Now, with a real estate agent is you really want an investor-friendly real estate agent. And here is a very funny story for you. I arrived in Kentucky. I was looking to buy more Airbnbs, and I was working with an agent. And Airbnb in Kentucky requires a CUP, which is a conditional use permit. And they have some laws, 600 feet rules. There's loopholes that you can go with the workarounds, but you have to be in the know to know the loopholes are, right? So I was working with this agent and she sent me a property and I wrote to her, I said, does this have a CUP? And she goes to me, what's a cup? I'm like, I can't work with you. You can't work with an agent who is not an investor agent. An investor agent is extremely important because they know the ins and outs. They probably invest themselves. They know the laws. When you're going to find your contacts on the ground, a lot of them is going to come from the investor real estate agent broker that you work with, because you're going to need to hire a property manager, which is about 7 to 10%. You're going to want to find a great contractor, title, inspection, appraisal. You're going to want to hire mortgage, bank lenders. You want to hear movers. Okay. So there's a lot of people that are going to come from working with this one investor broker. Now, again, there's another trick that I like to do. Sometimes even I listen to bigger podcasts and I find somebody who's a big player in the neighborhood. I call them up and I say, listen, I have cash. I want to buy. Would you want to partner on a deal? Many times they say yes, because at the end of the day, what's the big deal? And it's really nice, especially with Airbnb, not to be so, it's not about not being so capital intensive. It's more about sharing the load. When my team and your team combine, and we both Airbnb, which is the day-to-day operations, it's very good. If one person is sick, my cleaners are sick, my cleaners are out. What about your cleaners? We texted them and everything runs a lot smoother because you have more people on the ground. It's combining two resources. Also, if you want to buy, $1 million property, you can always combine it with two different groups and you can partner AKA JV the deal. So sometimes working with a local investor is good because that gives you an in. You get to learn about the neighborhood because they are already an investor in the neighborhood. So you get to see what they do, what kind of contractors they use, what kind of laws that state has, because Milwaukee is very different than Detroit, which is very different than Las Vegas, which is different than Austin and Florida. So they're all very different markets. So that's why working with one key person that is in the investment world is very important, because they can introduce you to all the people around, including your potential future property manager. They know which commercial lender to talk to, because you don't want a typical, maybe you do want, but most people don't want a typical residential loan. So there's a lot of things that you really want help with. And so having an investor broker or investor agent is very important. The only other way to really get listings other than going on Zillow or the MLS would be wholesalers or door knocking. I don't know if you have the time for that, probably not. But I do go on Facebook, and I'm part of many groups that are wholesaler groups in different states. So I find deals that are off the market that are looking for cash buyers and things of that nature. And if anything really is interesting to me, I take a look at it. But I've also built enough of a network that people text me and email me directly and let me know, hey, Chloe, I found a deal. Are you interested in it? And a lot of times that is how I find my properties. The third thing is obviously, the 1% rule in what rents should be going for. So I always go on sites like Rentometer or AirDNA to make sure that the rents or the Airbnb pricing that I'm going to be getting is hitting the 1% rule of the purchase price. And so I'm making sure that I am hitting my metrics. You have to look at the data. AirDNA has a lot of data. Mash Advisor has a lot of data. Zillow is more of a front end, doesn't have a ton of data, but there's a lot of websites that have data that will tell you these are what the price per square foot is like. This is how much all the other listings are going for. This is how much it has increased over this past year. And once you understand that and you understand if the market is moving or not, then you're able to make a better decision about where you want to go. Take me, for example, right before I started investing in Kentucky, I went out to Austin, Texas. They had a 29% annual increase. And I was just like, this is an incredible market. Airbnb is great there. Everything is really doing well there. But the issue with that market is that with a 29% increase, that means an influx of competitors and a lot of people that understand the market a lot better than I, because they've been there for a lot longer than I. And so I didn't want to enter the market until I was able to be mid-range, and now purchasing between 2 to 5 unit. It's not really considered multifamily, but it's still called a multifamily apartments. Another thing to keep in mind with real estate is that we have seasons. And I don't know if you're a rookie or if you have been doing this for a very long time, but if you don't know the seasons, fall market and spring market are the hottest markets. And then in the winter is the best time to find sellers who are really, really desperate to sell. But also it's a great time to get your property ready for sale or lease in the spring, summertime. So if you're going to buy something and rehab it, the best time to buy it and do that would be in January, February, March, which is right now, which is why now I'm teaching my real estate investment course. That's why now I'm teaching about Airbnb, because now is the time to learn. Now is the time to upgrade our knowledge. Now is our time to network and learn as much as we can and build our business so that when it comes to springtime, we are ready with the cash, with our pre-approval letters, with whatever it is that we're doing to just keep going and scaling. So make sure that you're utilizing the winters properly to take as much time as you need and be patient in terms of pouncing. Don't just pounce for no reason. You want to be able to make sure that you hit at least the summer market for leases, and you want to make sure that you hit the spring market for sales. And don't forget, the summer market for leases is not just people want to move into their homes before their kids start school, but also if people are buying around universities, which is a great place to buy because you have student housing there and you'll always have students paying rent. You want to make sure that they are getting into their housing, aka their dorms, before the semester starts. So people really want to get settled during this time. So it's a really, really, really great time to be able to go to market in the spring, summer. I'm going to go off the cuff now. So you did your data research, you picked your market, you're about to integrate to the market, you find all the investor real estate agents that are there, you start networking, you ask them, who do you recommend for title, for commercial loans, for private loans, for hard money loans? You start talking to them and you're like, who's the best appraiser, inspectors? You start to get to know the local people. Who do you use as a contractor? You get to know them. You got to fly out there. You got a budget to fly out there. You got to put it into your budget of part of your expenses that you're going to take 1 to 2 flights during the flip period, during the burr period, during the management period to be able to just pop in there to see what's going on. In the multifamily world, it's called mystery shoppers, where people go undercover to go check out and see and test you out to see if you really know what you're talking about and if you're a really good property manager or not. But you could do the same thing if they're your properties. You want to make sure that things are run smoothly. You want to make sure that the people that are checking into your apartments are actually getting a really beautiful experience, because otherwise you're not going to get good ratings on Airbnb, or you're going to have tenants that are going to be leaving, or you can have issues with tenants. You want to be able to take your time to do a really good job and make sure that you screen things properly, do every single step of the way. Now, I personally, before I hit a new market, I like to go there and check it out. Because of COVID, I ended up staying in one market for 4 months, which is a very long time. I usually don't spend more than 2 or 3 weeks there. But during those 2-3 weeks, I hit every single gym. Yes, I do. Not only because I get to work out in different places, but also because I get to meet the locals and talk to the gym owners. I actually got a for sale by owner listing because I spoke to the gym owner and I told her what I was doing. And she told me that if I bought that property, that I can use her gym as the gym amenity for the Airbnb of the property. Isn't that great? You see, being friendly, being very gracious, and being very, very cognizant of the fact that you're walking into a new market and these people many times don't have as much capital as we have. And being very respectful and ethical is the number one thing that I can stress, because I really want to add value to the neighborhoods that I'm coming into. I do not look at it as a deal and I'm just going to come in and take their houses and make them better and it's just $1 in, $1 out. No, I make sure that there's curb appeal. If my neighbor needs some money, maybe we can do his curb appeal. You know, there's room in the spread. There's enough meat on the bones to be able to just also really help the neighborhood. I volunteered at the local farm to help create organic food for lower income families and distribute it. You know, getting involved in the community and really caring about it is very important, but uncovering everything is even more important. Every single gym, every single organic food store, looking at the high-end neighborhoods, the low-end neighborhoods, driving around for hours and hours and hours, just looking at the people, looking at the stores, looking at what's around there, and then talking to people, going on Facebook, going on Instagram, saying, wow, I just got to Milwaukee and I saw that you went to the farmer's market. How was it? Where's the other farmer's market? Oh, where do you live? Oh, you live close to it. Oh, so is that a good neighborhood? I just moved here. What do you think about it? And really going in there and uncovering the entire market as if you were there is so important. Now, that I can go on and on for hours and telling you about how I've done it, but I don't have a 1, 2, 3. It's just me rambling. So if you want me to ramble, I'll make another video of me rambling on how I enter a city and how I, under 2 months, get very involved. So it's very important to just stay cognizant of it and just be true to yourself and keep doing what you do, but make sure that you are elevating yourself, but elevating those around you, elevating the properties and elevating the neighborhoods. This is a beautiful thing that you're doing, and I wish you a lot of luck. Again, if you subscribe, I'm going to be putting out a lot more videos, one every Tuesday, maybe 2 if you're lucky, but put the topics you want to hear below. Also, if you have any questions, put them down below. So I'll make that too. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this and have fun investing.